Delights. What a way to wake up on a Monday morning. Welcome back to Leicester City Down Under. We are joined by Ragsy. The football gods have answered our prayers. The Orc is gone. Good morning, Foxes, or good evening, wherever you are. How are you? Ragsy, talk to me, brother. How happy are you?
I'm feeling good, mate. I'm feeling fucking good. I tell you what, like I've never really, I wouldn't even know some of the shit that Nelson Mandela went through, but I'm getting a glimpse of what he might feel like today. So it's just like that comes through onto it. I'm honestly, I wasn't expecting the news. I honestly thought with this board and, in my opinion, how we can spine this that they are that I thought they'd wait until we drop into the relegation zone and maybe they might act. I was fearing that they were going to at least give him until the January window. So to at least hear the news is at least a bit relieving. And finally, our season starts today. So, and yeah, we can look forward. And it's not like constantly like for us as content creators and just fans in general, just like going and talking about the same problems over and over again, week after week. I mean, there's only really been 12 games, and it's felt like a lifetime of just misery and depression under him, knowing that we're not going anywhere, we're just drifting away. And yeah, that's fucking brilliant for you. And yeah, just waking up to this news. So yeah, no, absolutely. It's yeah, no, I'm buzzing, man. I'm absolutely buzzing.
I'm absolutely on board with you, mate. Like I was putting off doing content because I was sick of coming on here like a broken record, calling him an orc that can eat an apple for a tennis racket and whinging and moaning. But like, and it feels like a long season already, and it's only what like 13, 14. It's not been that many games, but it feels like mate. I've got credit at the bank. I wanted him gone pre-season. I thought it was disastrous, and everyone said, "Oh, it's just pre-season." But if you go back to our ex-boyfriend Enzo Maresca, when you looked at that Liverpool game, even though we lost, we felt like we played all right, even though we lost 4-0, and you could see the identity was there and then established in that preseason game. And then you go from that and everything that he established of us, Enzo, and the preseason games we had under Cooper, where it still continued to be like that. It was a shocking appointment. So, one, yes, I'm happy. It's confirmed that Kuhntop has somewhat a sack of testicles in that ball bag of his, but at the same time, I'm still a little bit irritated that this was not done during the international break. But hey, he's gone finally. Awesome. Now, Ragsy, the question now becomes, who do we appoint? Now, there's a lot of conversations. I guess we could start with Moyes, who it is rumored. Now, I personally don't want Moyes. I think that it's a little bit better of a version of Cooper. It doesn't utilize our squad depth to their massive or to their potential, but it is a pair of safe hands that could keep us up. But then you have the issue of having to pay again when it goes sour with him, which it very well could. Do you go for Moyes right now, Ragsy, because it's safe hands, or do you go for someone like, let's say, Corbrand, Will Seal, Potter? We'll start with Moyes, but just
Yeah.
quickly before we do, I just think that there's something to be said for if we do get Corbrand in at this stage of the career of the Premier League, where he's never managed before. Do you think that's throwing him to the wolves a bit?
I think yeah, we'll start with Moyes onto it. I do get the justification as to why you want to go for a manager like him. I think it's kind of what we were at least hoping or expecting when we signed Cooper, and in terms of we needed to be a bit more pragmatic in our transition from the Championship back into the Premier League. But I think people really are just I think it's just a lazy judgment, and they're kind of like their sort of justification over it was like, oh, look at Burnley from last season and the way that they were playing and how like they completely crashed and burned and it was just suicidal football that they were playing. Well, we're not Burnley, and we clearly had so much Premier League experience to the point like they were saying with Enzo, like the same fans that were saying this were saying with Enzo, oh well, my nan could have got that team promoted. Okay, well, which one is it then? So it's a case of like I do believe like this team can be progressive, and I believe they want. I think the pure reason for that is that they want to play this style. They love to play this style. So play to what suits the players. And in terms of the idea and the setup that we've built, and like it's been a case that the ownership have wanted to implement progressive football for I'd say about 4, 5, 6 years. Like they started with Puel transitioning away from with Pearson and Ranieri. Then they moved on to Brendan, and then they wanted to keep that idea still with Enzo. But as soon as Cooper was appointed, they just threw all that year's work out the window for the sake of short-term survival. and it just clearly seemed like nothing was suited to like how like we weren't suited to playing this sort of pragmatic, sort of negative style of play and just sitting and being reactive and stuff. It wasn't in our nature to. And I think when you look to Moyes, like I think like at least if you're going to go for that approach, at least he has a really good win ratio in this league, which is key. And I do believe if he was appointed, that I think he would stabilize the problems that we have defensively. And I think we can be like ruthless when it comes to attack and just sort of be pragmatic, okay? But I don't think it would cost at the sake of entertainment, which is not a huge priority for me anyway. It's just for the sake of if I see results going on the board and we're climbing up the table, that's enough entertainment for me. I just want to see us doing well, and actually sort of like I can see that with the results that are being put in place. And I do believe if he was appointed, he would stay up. However, saying that, he wouldn't be my first choice. I'd prefer probably a progressive coach, someone who's like would implement a style of play, has an identity, and ideally with possession, like being a possession-based team that can be adaptable, that can use the counter press, that has ideas when we're in possession, so we're able to break teams down, which is like a big sort of need when it comes to the Premier League anyway. So that's what I prefer. If it came to those options and we can get the ideal choice and Moyes was available, I would take a Moyes if it came to it. But yeah, there would be other options for me.
I spot on agree with you, Ragsy. So I think that like especially when you look at players like Winks and stuff like that, and a lot of the people that like have really enjoyed their time at the end zone to that, progressive style of football, which is now the go-to in the modern age of football, particularly the Premier League. And with players that we've brought in with that in mind, when we had Enzo, Mads Hermansen, keep it's good at his feet because we're going to play it out from the back. We still need to build upon that, in my opinion. So I spot on agree. I would take Moyes, but my first option would be Will Sill, Carlos Corbrand, or even Potter. But a lot of people turn their nose up at him. So I think that we need to get this appointment right. Now, the question is, do you think we're going to have this done by the end of the week, Ragsy? Because I believe Cooper's staff has gone with him.
It's always peculiar, really. It's just like it's not really the first time that we've seen our board go and sack a manager straight after having like a 2-week break, where you're thinking, why don't you just do it before over an international break? I think it was the case with Rodgers in that Palace away game after an international break. I think it was the case for Puel where we had a mid-season break. Like, it's just like, it's just sense an opportunity. And then, like now with Cooper as well, like straight after an international break, and then you see their reasoning and they're like, oh yeah, it's not a spur of a moment decision. And I was like, well, you at least go and get your guy. You had plenty of time to talk to him, and he would have been more than ready for the Chelsea game. So, I mean, it would be touch and go as to whether he's ready for Brentford. I'd assume he'd be ready for West Ham, surely. Like, it's had to be surely appointed by then. It would be a mess if it wasn't. So, but I think there's time. I do think there's time. And yeah, I think already you're seeing the links from pretty reliable sources about the options out there straight away. So, and also we're not having to, when it was the case with like letting Brendan go, it would have been a case of we would have had to buy a manager out of a club to go and get him in, which would have been a long and complicated process. So, well, kind of relatively longer and complicated process. But in this case, you're looking at 3 managers that are free, that don't really require any compensation and are ready to jump in. So I think like in that settling in period, I think it would, I'd see it happening before Brentford. My issue is we trust this board to sort of get over the line when we were trying to replace Enzo, and then they went and got Cooper. So it's trying to trust them again as to like whether they're actually going to right their wrongs this time, or because it's like one step forward and actually sacking him and fairly quickly compared to other teams around us. But we took 5 steps back by appointing him in the first place. It was just an appointment that never should have happened. So it's I'll wait and see. I'm not gonna sort of jump the gun on any news outlets at the minute. I'm just gonna let it all sort of fizzle out and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, bang on, Regs. Just probably going to have to wait a few days, but you mentioned 3 options that are available right now, and that's Moyes, Van Nistelrooy, and Potter, potentially. Of those 3, do you think, I've just seen that comment here, would you be happy to take Ruud Van Nistelrooy? We haven't mentioned him yet, actually. Would you be happy for that appointment?
So, yeah, for me, he'd be my number one choice. And like, I think it's thrown up for debate a bit, like as to like, I think it's people are a bit skeptical, being like, I don't know, I'm not really convinced. I think the people that sort of watched him from 3 United games, like you can't judge him off that. Like I think there was interest in him even in the summer as well. There was like interest from our boards when he was released by PSV and he was hovering about. Then he took this background role at United and stuff towards the end of it after we appointed Cooper. So he is in the mind of the board. And when you look at what he implemented at PSV and you look at his background, like he was heavily involved in the youth setups, really sort of like passionate with the academy and just developing in his man management. And he's gone on to develop like so many players, like not only across like PSV, but just across the whole Dutch league as well. So it's just been a huge inspiration. Really went into education around like in terms of the sporting director roles and just making sure he understands and can communicate like the right things that need to be said. Then managed PSV for that season. They finished second behind Ajax and they won the cup as well. People will point to the fact that, oh, well, he got sacked in that season. Then the season after they won the league. In that season, the reason why he ended up being sacked was because of a dispute with the board. Because in that season, they sold Cody Gakpo and Noni Madueke in the same January window. So obviously you're going to be pissed. Like that's like us in that championship season. If we'd have lost Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Jamie Vardy in that same window, of course you're going to be pissed. So it's just like it ended up being vindicated in the end when it came to it with Roots, and it's like they resolved the issues behind the scenes and made some changes in and around the board. Now they're doing well, and now they're like pretty much top of Eredivisie, and it's like they built a team and he built the foundations for it and he contributed to that. So, and like in terms of his demeanor, just him as a passionate like guy, and I don't know, I just even when he speaks, I just feel like I'm warm to him. Just kind of like that same sort of feeling that you got with Enzo, and he was just on the touchline and he's just gearing the players and he's constantly in and around the coaching sessions, and you just want someone into it and just like and I feel like if he was in the boardroom, I feel like I got a feeling he would impress like Enzo did when he impressed in that interview and gone, yeah, this guy's got balls about him, and like I think he'd do really well. I know I'm banking on potential, but I would really back him. I would really back him. He'd be my number one.
So there's a lot of merit in what you just said. So you would imagine what like players like JJ and Winks and a lot of players are down tools right now. Morale is low. So he was called Van Nistelrooy the players manager while he was at United. All the players were behind him. Obviously, does that translate into like an efficient manager? That remains to be seen. But in terms of like a coach and player management and bringing that spark back in the club, you're spot on. That could be what we need right now. But that I do believe he interviewed for the job originally. Why they gave it to Cooper instead of him, I don't know. Again, that's on the board. But look, at least they've got this right to an extent. They didn't leave it till Christmas, but why they didn't use the international break is beyond me. But look, he's gone now. The Orc's gone. I guess we can move on from that. Got a comment here from Dallas Fox's assistant manager, Alan Tate, first team coach, analyst Steve Rance has also left the club. Good. I wonder about the set piece coach if he's still here. I heard. Is that a poop? I don't know what that means in English.
Nugget.
A nugget. That
nugget. I'm like,
oh, happy days. Ant reckons that there was apparently a bust up, which is why apparently the straw broke the camel's back. I'm hearing all kinds of things, and I don't know. It's clear that he lost the dressing room, in my opinion, like a month ago. Like as soon as we saw him arguing Winks on the sideline, he had to go Ragter, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Like I don't know whether you've seen all the shit that's been going around with the party in Copenhagen and it's like and so I miss you and stuff. But like, and it all came out. And I'm not first of all, I'm not sitting here and condoning it, but to an extent, I kind of understand why it's all imploded and come out in that way. Like shit happens like that behind the scenes. Like imagine like you thoroughly hate your boss at work and everybody does. And it's just like, you're chatting shit behind his back all the time, and it comes out like if you're on a night out or something, and it's like, and it's just the case that this got released and it's now on social media and stuff for the world to see. So it's obviously it's not a good look, but it's kind of vindicated in a way, and it's like it's not like it mirrors to an extent like how little respect the players had for him. And it wasn't even that towards the end. It was just like, look at the Walsall game where he's handing a note to Connor Cody to like say who should be taking the penalties, and Winks is having a go at him from the touchline. The Chelsea game, the likes of Ndidi and like Winks and other players that are just berating him, and he's just walking away from the touchline during that Chelsea game. And the United game, Cody's having a go at him, and it's just so many sort of like things wrong behind the scenes. It's just a completely broken setup, and it was only really going to head one way. And yet, like we said before, it was just like, it was only a matter of when, never if. It was just like, and I think it was just the first opportunity, because Top was there in the ground, and maybe the other board members as well. And that was probably his first opportunity to go and speak to the players, and they let him know, being like, we ain't having this guy. And it's just like, the tactics are just, well, a disgrace really. And it's like, and they're voicing what the fans have been saying really, and they've voiced that to the ownership, and we were hoping they would do, because without that, I don't think he'd be sacked right now. And I think they took whatever the players said on board and acted upon it.
See, I bang on agree. There's just that many things going around. There's no smoke without fire. So that's the problem for me. And look, he's gone now, and it's not left too late, in my opinion, like it was of Rodgers. Let me ask you this though, Ragsy. So we've got somewhat of an injury crisis right now, and a lot of players that are down tools as it is now. We talked about earlier, Moyes, would he be a pair of safe hands? I think the only problem is that I think that we need to go in deep in January transfer window. If we get relegated, we have a transfer embargo waiting for us, which would be catastrophic. So we can't bring anyone in if they get relegated. We have a lot of players that would not want to be a part of that, and a sinking ship that would probably leave as well. So we'd be forced a lot to depend on our youth and whoever else that we can manage to hang on to. So one, we need to bolster the depth to stay up, purely because of the injuries that we have right now. And B, with the intent of, we need to seriously be thinking about this, about saying 2 defeated, like we need to get players now just in case, for that in mind when we go down. Now, if we get David Moyes in, is he going to bring players in that suits his identity? Because that kind of goes against the grain of everything that we started with Enzo. And again, why I think it was stupid that we appointed Cooper to begin with. So I think we need to be sticking of a progressive manager through and through, and also need to back him in the January transfer window. Again, this is another reason why I would have much rather him be here during the international break. He would have had more of an idea of what he needs and what he can work with, but at least it's been done now. So hopefully this gets appointed ASAP, starts getting in, integrating, working with the players, and starting to get ready for the January transfer window. Do you think, Ragsy, that we will spend any money in January?
When have we ever had a good January window, man? When have we maybe if you really want to look back, maybe if you want to really look back, like the window where we got like Mahrez, in the Championship season before we went up the first time, possibly recalling Barnes and then buying in like a Tielemans on loan. That was like a decent one, but apart from that though, even you look to the one in when Brendan's last season as well, and you're signing like Christensen and Suter and Tete, and you're just signing profiles for the sake of it without a lot of thought into it, and they're just it comes to testament. Suter's now out on loan, Tete's gone, and Christensen is still flat as to deceive, in my opinion, anyway. So it's tough looking in a January window. So really, it's just ideal just to have all your options sorted then. I do think Edouard's not really cutting it for me, so maybe just a different option up top. But again, who do you get and how much money do we have? So, and if it is the case of we need a few players to just get in on a permanent, do we need to sell anybody? Now, I, for one, am looking at this and going, well, if you do need to sell someone, then Hermansen would be the biggest asset. But do I want to get rid of him? Absolutely not. We've seen the drop off when it comes to in a goalie. The fact is, if we had Hermansen in that season we went down, we wouldn't have gone down. Ward is just an absolutely tragic goalkeeper, and he'll be the number 2. So it's you don't want to put yourself in that precarious position. You don't want to unsettle the team, especially like halfway into the season. It's never ideal trying to sell someone just for the sake of buying a few players. That like just see it out with what you've got. Try and loan in. Maybe like if it's just a case of you're seeing any sort of young prodigies that you scouted and you've done your research on, and they are available in January, then great. If they are available for a reasonable fee, then cool, go ahead and do it. But never really just sort of like bank on and feel like you're going to massively like strengthen in January. You can't really bank on that. I think it's any loans out there that maybe like you could see or like a last minute, like we got with Tielemans, and it was just, it all sort of materialized that, yeah, he wants to go out there and play. He'd go about anywhere. Luckily, we saw onto it and came to us. So shit can happen like that. So, you know, if it is available, cool. But I don't think really we can be banking on it. I just think it's, now that Cooper is gone, I just think it would just be a massive lift for this squad that, you know, especially as well, if we get this appointment right the second time lucky, I think it would just, like, we're seeing the players just completely not in form. And I believe they're better than what they're showing at the minute. And I believe they will be doing that if they're under a better manager. It's just very clear and evident to see. So, and then, yeah, you know, let's see how this winter period goes, and then we'll assess in January if we do need anything desperately.
Spot on, Ragsy, mate. This isn't going to be the longest stream today, guys. I do have to go to work in about 15, 20 minutes. Ragsy, mate, thank you so much for joining. I'm so relieved that Cooper's finally gone, mate. Honestly, I've been sick of coming in here like a broken record and slagging them off. Let's hope they get this appointment right, mate. Ragsy, thank you so much for joining me. Give me a shout out, mate, where people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me on, mate. No, I love the content and stuff. Yeah, big up, man. Big up, man. So, yeah, we do stuff on Talk Leicester City podcast. I haven't really been uploading on there, to be honest, on playback, but it's mainly on Fossab at the minute. So we're going to be, like, obviously with this news coming out today, like, we're just going to be dishing out so much content in terms of how it went for Cooper, discussing new managerial appointments, and then, yeah, probably the future games to come and whichever appointment that we go with, how it's really going to go. So absolutely stay tuned. Like, it'll be exciting times in terms of content and stuff. So big on yourself.
You got a busy week, Ragsy. Thank you much for the kind words, brother. I appreciate it. And I would love to have you on again. Guys, Absolutely. Go ahead and follow Ragsy. And let's just hope they get this appointment right. And let's see how we're going against Brentford. Hopefully we can absolutely rinse them. As Loxy said here, you will see an instant level of depression from these places. We'll smoke Brentford 3-0. Fuck, I hope so, bro. I really do. All right, guys, I'm going to go get ready to go to work. It is 7:30 in the morning here in sunny Oz, and I've got a nice day to have enjoyed this wonderful news. Take care. If you like this channel, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And I take it it's going to be a busy week for all content creators around this club right now. Have a good one.